Go baby, what's good guys? Yoku here, and today we're talking about the love of my life. I know we've all heard the gospel about her being one of, if not the best characters to have in the game, but it's true. She is quite literally the best support in the game. She provides solid damage to assist cleaning up the board, defense boost, attack boost, and damage boost across the entire team. Did I mention she has a skill that immediately advances any character forward by 100%? No, I'm not talking about Moon. I'm talking about the one and only Bronya. For those new to the game, don't fret. I'll do my best to break down Bronya's entire kit in a simple manner to help you easily understand why so many players desperately want her. Bronya's basic attack, Wind Rider Bullet, looks just like any other basic attack that deals wind damage, but there are a couple things that really make this basic attack not so basic. Bronya's attack goes hand in hand with her talent leading the way. They are practically a pair. After using a basic attack, Bronya's next action will be advanced forward by a certain percentage. In order to keep things simple, I won't go over the formula for turn order, but just know it works a little differently than regular speed stats. In simple terms, it means that her basic attack is good, real good. After understanding her Wind Rider Bullet, we can immediately move forward with her skill, Combat Redeployment. Now this is one powerhouse of a skill. Not only does it remove one debuff from an ally, not only does it increase the raw damage that an ally will inflict, but it also allows them to immediately act next in the turn, advancing them forward 100%. This is the bread and butter of her kit, and finding the best ways to use this on your team will be solely dependent on you. Now, as a small disclaimer, during CBT3, it was possible for Bronya to use Combat Redeployment on herself, which essentially allowed her to have some hyper carry compositions, and it gave her the ability to charge her ultimate even faster than normal. As of release, Bronya can still use Combat Redeployment on herself, but she no longer gains access to the 100% advance forward. All the other stuff is still valid. Finally, we've made it to the Belobog March, Bronya's ultimate ability. This boosts the attack and crit damage of all allies for a certain number of rounds. Pretty straightforward, right? Now couple this with her technique that also boosts all allies' attack at the start of a battle for a similar amount of turns, and you found yourself stacking an absurd amount of buffs across your entire team. The last of her kit to be discussed here are the traces. Now I've already mentioned one, which was leading the way. The next two traces are not conditional and instead automatic. Battlefield is her second trace that will increase the defense of all allies at the start of battle for about 2 turns. Her third trace is called Military Might, and this one permanently increases all damage dealt by allies for a certain percentage as long as Bronya is on the field, which is basically forever. Now at this point, I could technically stop the guide because this works for any and everything that you would want to do, but for the sake of being a completionist with my videos, her Eidolons are coming up next. Bronya's first Eidolon is pretty strong. It has a 50% fixed chance to restore the skill point used after her skill. Basically, it makes it a coin toss on whether or not you can spam another skill from your main DPS for free. Her second Eidolon allows whoever she targets with her skill to gain increased speed after they take action. The fourth Eidolon is going to create a new type of Bronya. Anytime an ally attacks an enemy that just happens to have a weakness to wind, Bronya will then immediately launch a follow-up attack that deals high wind damage based on Bronya's own basic attack damage. I guess the drawback to this is that it can only be triggered once per turn, but that's still a lot of damage being spat out conditionally. Lastly is her sixth Eidolon, which increases the damage boost effect from Bronya's skill for an extra turn. If I had to advise anyone that was hunting for Bronya's Eidolons, I'd consider 4 the final train stop. E1 is great. It's a good stopping point for sane people, but if you just really needed to get more of a Bronya fix, then E4 should be your last and permanent stop. Now, similar to how I've done a few of the other guides, I'll break down which light cones are going to be her best while showing the alternatives on the screen. First off, and her best in slot, is going to be But the Battle Isn't Over. This light cone increases Bronya's energy regeneration rate and regenerates 1 skill point when she uses her ultimate on any ally. This effect can be triggered after every 2 uses of the wearer's ultimate, and on top of that, after Bronya uses her skill, the next ally taking action deals an increased amount of damage for that turn. Something a bit better for my free-to-play players will be the light cones Carve the Moon and Memories of the Past. The latter being what I would consider her best or easiest 4-star option to get. It's easily attainable through Echoes of War and Forgotten Hall. It naturally increases her break effect percentage, and even though it's once per turn, it still regenerates extra energy after an attack. Carve the Moon, on the other hand, doesn't require grinding, but the only other way to get it besides pulling it is through the Premium Battle Pass. That said, even though the effects are randomly generated per instance, these effects are practically mini buffs from Bronya's own kit. Being able to increase all allies' attack, crit damage, or even energy regeneration as often as Bronya attacks during a battle is phenomenal, but uncontrollable. Next are her relics, and this should be a fairly quick explanation. Thief of the Shooting Meteor is universally more helpful for the team by increasing Bronya's break potential and regenerating energy after a break. Eagle of Twilight, however, is great for increasing raw wind damage by 10%, and it advances Bronya forward by 25% after using her ultimate. Now, her planar ornaments should match or compensate for whatever else your Bronya lacks. Talia, Kingdom of Banditry, accentuates her break damage, and then Fleet of the Ageless will increase her overall max HP while simultaneously increasing all of your allies' attack if your speed has reached 120. Some of you might be thinking, but what about crit? We always build in a crit, right? Every character wants some crit. And as I mentioned earlier in this video, Bronya's natural talent is to have 100% crit rate when she uses her basic attack. That is her only attack. She has no other attack. There is zero reason to pump anything into crit rate. Instead, if you want to focus on something pertaining to crit, focus on stacking crit damage as much as you want, followed by speed in order to hit whatever speed threshold you're looking for, and then your break effect. Of course, these things can be swapped around however you are trying to build your Bronya, but at the end of the day, speed, crit damage, and break effect are going to be the three main stats you're looking for when it comes to building Bronya. And for obviously stated purposes, use your planar sphere to get the wind damage increase. Now, team composition is literally free. Bronya goes with everyone, but where the team building comes into play is knowing and understanding skill point composition. Now, I've got an entirely different video breaking down team building and in particular team composition, so be sure to check that out here. As far as Bronya's teams go, I will give a brief example of what her better formats are. Using the characters that I have available to me, if I were going to start with Bronya, I'm going to add Bronya to the team. I know that Bronya is going to be my main support unit. She's going to be helping buff everyone else, so I'm looking for a strong DPS. Now, I got lucky, so obviously I'm going to throw in Zila, and now Zila's here. Zila is my main DPS. Boom, Bronya's going to support that. I want someone else on the team to further help support what's going on. So in this case, I could go with someone like March 7th. I could go with someone like where's she at, Natasha. And this ultimately comes down to whether or not you want shields or heals. Now, in this case, I like heals a little bit better, and I think Natasha's hot. So that's what I'm going to put on there. Last character is going to be your sub DPS. Now, being that Zila is a single target, I'm looking for a sub DPS that's going to have some AoE capability. I could go with Pela. Pela is going to be able to use AoE with her ultimate, but in particular, it's really important because her ultimate is going to give the defense reduction. On the other end, I can go with someone like Serval. Serval is going to be able to allow me to get all that AoE damage, apply some DOT shock damage going on as well. And ultimately, I got a powerhouse rock unit, right? I got an all-girl rock squad going on here, but this is probably something that I will build, or rather, this is what I'm using currently in-game with the game fully released until I get other 5-star characters. And I say this because you're looking at this from a light spender perspective. Now, if you don't have Zila, it's okay. You can actually replace Zila with anyone that's going to be a single target DPS. I could replace them with Arlen. I could do that with Don Hung. I could do this with Hook. There are multiple options that you guys have when building out the team. Bronya is such a free character to actually invest in when it comes to team comp that you really don't need to think hard about it. She's going to use her skill, as I mentioned earlier, which is going to be the combat redeployment, and that's going to allow someone to go again basically while also increasing their damage by the 33% here. So if I were to come back and I'm like, all right, cool, well, I have Don Hung on my team, he's going to get the damage increase because I know I want to use him the most. But if there's a situation, let's say that there's maybe 3 or 4 different lightning weak characters or enemies on the field, well, now I can start using Bronya's skill on Serval and boosting her up to get her damage up, get her ultimate built, and then get mad damage from that. Now, if you're looking for something a little future term, right, you're looking to the Jingyuan banner, or if you got really lucky and you pulled Su Shang for your 4-star. After spending so much time hunting for the character, it's only natural you'd want to use her to her fullest potential. But if I could wrap up her entire job for the end of the video here, Bronya's best use is honestly bringing out the fullest potential of the rest of her team. She excels with a strong DPS, regardless of them being single target or AoE, it does not matter. Her constant stack of buffs keeps Bronya off the chopping block for any threat of power creep, and with her own proclivity to score critical hits with every attack, it's only a matter of time before someone releases a Battle Bronya break build. If you enjoyed this video or learned anything from it, please feel free to subscribe to the HoYoverse for more Honkai Star Rail content. Liking the video helps push me into other people's recommended, and it might help the next person understand Bronya a little bit more. If you're looking for guides on the standard 5-star characters, I've got a playlist right here for you, collabed with Moon and I. If you're wondering more about the future banner featuring Jingyuan, you can check this video out right now. Also, before you go, don't forget to join the Discord. We've grown over 100 members in the last week alone, so I'll pin that in the comment section. Without further ado, I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Smell you later.